This is the just one-page note sent by Professor Sadanandham, retired economics professor of Kakti University, on this budget. The Telangana, I read out, kindly follow, I will slowly read out. The Telangana government's 2025-26 budget, with a total outlay of rupees 3.04 lakh crores, signals a continued emphasis on populist welfare-oriented schemes, while social protection is important in a developing state. The stark underinvestment in foundational sectors like education and healthcare raises serious concerns about long-term priorities and governance vision. Welfare versus foundational investment. An overwhelming 1.04 lakh crore, nearly one-third of the total budget, has been set aside for various welfare guarantees, including rupees 56,084 crore towards the 6 major poll promises. In stark contrast, the education sector has received only rupees 23.108 crore. Or approximately 6% of the total budget. Far below 12% of that Chief Minister Revanth Reddy himself promised prior to the elections as part of his vision to revamp the state's public education system. Similarly, healthcare was allocated rupees 12,393 crores, which again appears insufficient to address the state's growing needs for rural medical infrastructure, trained personnel, and essential public health services. Privatization and corporatization of the sectors, a disturbing shift, and this corporate social responsibility. Further compounding concerns is the announcement to establish a skill university with private assistance and management. A move that, while aiming to boost employability, reflects a policy direction increasingly reliant on privatization. The declaration that existing state universities will be developed using corporate social responsibility funds underscores a worrying retreat from government's constitutional responsibility to adequately fund and develop public sector education, which the present Chief Minister promised during his visits to universities as part of his election campaign. Do the university students not require skills? This approach suggests a lack of genuine commitment to strengthening public education, which still remains the primary avenue of learning for millions of students from economically and socially marginalized communities. Instead of investing in systemic improvements such as regular faculty, upgrading infrastructure, and ensuring academic autonomy, the state appears to be outsourcing its core duties to the private sector and corporate donors. The recent announcement of uniform guidelines for the appointment of teaching staff in universities appears to be designed to be squashed in courts of law. Fiscal concerns and long-term implications. With proposed borrowing of 64,539 crores, the state's debt is expected to rise to 5.04 lakh crores, or 28.1% of the GSDP. This growing fiscal pressure makes it even more critical to prioritize investments that yield long-term socio-economic returns, especially human capital sectors like education and health. Then, closing note is, the Telangana 2025-26 budget reflects a skewed prioritization that leans heavily toward short-term welfare at the cost of long-term empowerment. While welfare schemes can provide immediate relief. Sustainable growth demands robust public investment in education and health. Relying on private management and corporate social responsibility to prop up public universities undermines both the autonomy and the integrity of the public education, and ultimately the prospects of the state's most vulnerable populations. The government must realign its priorities, not just to fulfill education electoral promises, but to build a stronger, more equitable foundations for Telangana's future. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.